right, Tony Steuer. Of course, if you go out to your browser and type tonysteuer.com, we're going to show you the name, of course. Watu kadhaa wataniambia namna gani Steuer namna gani, but if you go to on Google and type Tony Steuer, that is STEUER.com, you can be able to see his website where he's trying to, get you ready, get prepared, and this is towards financial well-being. And his goal is to empower people to make smart money choices. How does he do that? He's currently here on Zoom. If Tony, you can hear me, good morning. Let's get into this conversation and welcome to KUTV Kenya. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Richard. Thanks for having me here today. Glad to be with you and your audience today.
Right. It is great to have you here as well. Of course, the wonders of modern technology, but I'm hoping that someday in the future we can actually sit alongside here in studio and have this conversation.
That'd be fun.
Right.
I've gotten to speak in Ghana, in Africa, so, I've met some people, so I'd love to come out to Africa sometime.
All right. So once you're in Kenya, we'll make sure, of course, we are looking out for you. Now, your goal is to empower people to make smart money choices. And this is, of course, by providing them the knowledge. I'm seeing here some of the resources that you put out on your website that they can use for that financial literacy and putting it into action. Let me maybe begin from, your side. Financial literacy, empowering people to make smart money choices. Is this something that you've done as a career for the whole time that you've been practicing it, or do you have a different background that has led you to this kind of path?
Well, I've been in the personal finance world since I graduated from college. I did start off in life insurance, and over the years, I started to notice in working with financial planners that people had very similar money issues across the board that they had with their life insurance. They didn't understand the financial services and products that they owned. And so I started to get very interested in how could I help people actually understand what they're spending money on and make better financial choices.
All right. And of course that you've done for quite some time, which means you have amassed quite a wealth of experience. Now, here we've had a conversation on, of course, my financial well-being a couple of times, and the thing that my audience always asks is, does saving help me? Does saving help me towards my financial goals? Is saving the solution, or should I be thinking otherwise? So the question now is, why is it important to save then? Because I know you do, from what I've seen here on your site, saving is also one of those tips that you're offering to people towards that will compound towards financial well-being, towards financial health. So why is it important to start saving, and how early should someone start saving?
Well, the best day to start saving is today. But wherever you are in your journey is fine. The goal with saving is, basically to spend less money, than you make. And then you put that money aside, and that's how you feel and meet your goals. So if your goal is to retire, your goal is to buy a new car, or your goal is to buy a house, it requires you to put some money aside. And the most important thing to understand about investing and putting money aside is the magic of compounding, and that's money growing each year. So for example, if you have $1 in your bank account and you get a penny in interest in the first year, you're going to have $1.01 after 1 year. But in the second year, you're going to earn interest on that $1.01. So it's a way to continue to grow your money at a rapid rate. And here's a good example that I heard. So if you imagine a pond which has a lily pad, and over 30 days, that lily pad is going to double in size every day until it fills the whole pond in 30 days. However, it doesn't fill half the pond until the 29th day. And that's the magic of compounding, because between that 29th and 30th day, that lily pad is going to cover the pond. But that's where the compounding comes in, is more towards the end. And that's why it's important to save early so you can get that compounding at the end.
All right.
And, so save what you can when you can.
All right. Is there like a specific strategy that you have, or do you need to have a goal so that you can save, or you can just save and that compounds and then you can have the goal later?
Well, you can do it either way. Really with financial wellness is it's unique to you. Whatever your goals are, I do suggest that you think about what your goals are. Where do you want to go? But we each have our own goals. For somebody, it may be having a really nice car. For somebody else, it may be having a nice house. And for somebody else, it's just, having money, to go on vacation somewhere. So your goals are personal to you. And that's where you need to start, is to think about, what you want, what's going to make you happy, and then put enough money aside so that you can make yourself happy and live the life that you want to live.
All right. Now let's get to the role of education. How and why is education important in this journey of financial well-being?
Well, education is important in anything that you do. So, for example, if you're going to play chess, you have to understand the rules and how chess is played. And money works the same way. As you can't expect to make good financial decisions if you don't spend any time studying up and learning the rules of how money works, learning the definitions. You have to take that time to think about it. And many people spend more time shopping for a new television than they may shopping for an investment or shopping for an insurance policy. So that's where education really pays off, is the education gives you the power because you know something. And then that helps you ask smarter questions and make better choices, which saves you money in the long run.
All right, make better choices and ask smart questions. And that's what also we are trying to get here. One of the other smart questions we are trying to navigate is budgeting. Of course, saving is also one of those, and budgeting is also quite a different conversation. Budgeting and saving. And is budgeting effective if it's something that you've done personally? And how should someone budget around the little or the much that they have to ensure they have financial stability and their financial well-being is in check?
Well, budgeting is one of those interesting things. Some people like the term budget, other people feel restricted by the term budget. The basic principle of a budget is, what's important is that you spend less money than you bring in. Budgeting is just a way to manage your expenses. So if you think of it like dieting, is if you go really hard on your diet, really extreme, and you cut out, every type of dessert you like, every type of food that you like, just in order to lose weight. Yeah, you'll lose weight over 2 or 3 months, but as most of us know who've been on a diet, you tend to put that diet back on. So when you're thinking about a budget, you have to think in the same way, are these things that I'm doing realistic? Do I want to give up these things for the rest of my life? Or is this an adjustment that I can make? Because at the end of the day, you have to make more money than you spend, or you're going to end up with a lot of debt. So that's really the way to think about budgeting. It's just a way to manage your expenses.
All right.
To make sure you have money at the end of the day.
Okay. And should someone do budgeting when they receive the money, or is budgeting something that you have to do on a daily basis? Because the next thing that I want to understand is, while making purchases, are there important things that I should consider before going out for a shopping spree? I know we have a lot of issues of that, impromptu spending, of course, spontaneous expenditures that come up when someone has received income or a salary or something like that. Are there factors you feel someone should consider before they go out to spend their money?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Richard. You should always think about, before you make a major expenditure, that's why it's good to make a plan and, determine what your future expenses are going to be. Because let's say you get some extra money in February, but in April, you're going to have a big car payment. You may be tempted to spend that money when it comes in February, but if you're planning ahead and thinking about your expenses over the course of the year, you're going to be able to make a better decision as to spend that money. And the other thing I would say about making a major purchase is to take the time and think about whether that major purchase will help you reach your goal. Is quite often we think about something and we go, oh boy, this sounds great. In the moment, maybe I need to get that new car. But if you spend the money on that new car, is that going to help you or hurt you in reaching your long-term goal? And then, of course, you have to think about the total cost of buying something. Like, again, if you buy a new car, your costs are also the cost of insurance, the cost of any licensing that you have, the cost of putting gas in the car, the cost of getting the car repaired. So you have to measure all that out. So it does come back to having a plan and thinking about what you're doing, acting with intention and with purpose in your financial life.
All right. Now, as we also speak about expenditure, that is the situation that leads towards debt. And the debt situation is bad, really, all over the world, from countries to individuals as well. We know that most people do run on credit cards, and debt cannot be entirely a bad thing, but it can be something detrimental to someone's financial well-being or financial stability. So what are the important things that we need to know around debt, how to handle debt, and of course the issue of credit cards?
There's a few great questions in there. One of the things that I would tell people is to not worry about it. So, for example, my son has type 1 diabetes, and that means his blood sugar can range from 50 to 400 in a matter of hours. And what we're taught is there's no good number or bad number. There's only the number that his blood sugar is and the adjustments that we make to it. So, if you have debt or you somehow end up with more debt, that's okay. You have to just think about what steps you're going to take going forward. And going forward, you decide, hey, debt is expensive. I have to pay interest on the debt. So you think about that. And then when you're thinking about the different credit cards that you have and which credit card you have to pay off, or if you have to pay off a mortgage on your house, think about the interest rate that you're paying for different kinds of debt, because credit cards have different interest rates. So you want to pay off the one with the highest interest rate first. It's okay. As I mentioned, is you don't want to have any judgment or to feel bad if you have credit cards. Everybody has credit cards. I went through a little credit card issue when I was in my 20s, and it's okay. You can pay off your credit cards. Again, you just need to have a plan to do so, but don't worry about it. It's the decisions that you make going forward. Make the best decisions that you can, but don't be hard on yourself. Just think more about, hey, what can I do in the future to make better decisions and to be in a better place financially?
All right. I do know that the credit score situation in America, for example, is not the same in Kenya. However, still on that issue of debt, should I include debt in my budgeting always? And secondly is, how do I ensure that I am not, of course, getting more debt than usual? I know you've mentioned that it's not entirely a bad thing. It's just this is a number that I need to figure out how to work around. But also, how do I ensure, or how do I make strategies that are strategic to help me not get into a bad debt situation? Or for yourself, as you said, you had a credit card issue in your 20s. How did you not push over the limit? Is there a way that you can check yourself, that is your debt vis-a-vis what you have in cash or what you have in the bank, and create that kind of well-balanced situation?
Well, one of the first things you notice is that your minimum payments are going up. And if you find yourself in a spot where it becomes difficult to make your minimum payments on the credit card, you've got a problem. The other thing is that the minimum payments, if you're making the minimum payment on a credit card, is you're not going to pay off your credit card balance for 30 or 40 years. And so you're paying a really high interest rate. I don't know what the credit card rates are in Kenya, but I'm assuming that they're probably similar to the US. So, they're 15%, 20% on the credit cards. That's pretty expensive when you think about it. So, you think about, is that the best use of my money? Can I do something better with my money than pay somebody else 15% on money that I borrow for them? And then, as I mentioned, is, with the credit cards, is you rank your debt. And what that means is you say, okay, I have this credit card and it has a 15% interest rate. And then I have this credit card with a 10% interest rate. And I have this one with a 12% interest rate. So you're going to pay off the one with the highest interest rate first. And that way you're also minimizing the interest that you're paying out. And if you do have a high credit card balance, and maybe you want to think about finding a credit card with a lower balance or finding a loan in the meantime that you'll be paying less interest on, because you're always, trying to lower your expenses. That's one of the best ways to get ahead financially, is to think about what expenses you can reduce easily that won't really have a major impact on you.
Right. So when it's still still finalizing there on credit and debt, when you are dealing with institutions, financial institutions, of course, like banks that offer you that credit and give you a credit score as well, is there a way that you could say someone can ensure that they're in good terms with the lenders, or they have a good credit score that will ensure, of course, they still get credit next time? Because as you said, credit is still part of your financial journey. It's still something that is important, or debt is important as well in how you are patching a few items in your life that need your finances. So is there a strategy, if there is, or a few pointers in how someone can ensure they have a good credit score to keep them in check and to keep them in good terms with the guys who are lending him, whether it's bank or microfinance institutions?
Definitely. Well, the most important thing is to pay all your debts on time. You'll receive a penalty against your credit score for late payments, or if you make payments under the minimum payment due. Those are the biggest things, is to make sure you make all your payments on time and as much as possible. The other thing that the companies take a look at is how much credit you carry over from month to month. So that's the balance that you're paying interest on. So let's say you have $1,000 credit limit and you have a $500 balance that you carry over from month to month. They're going to see that you're using up a lot of your credit. So you want to try to use as little of your credit as possible. It's a little bit counterintuitive, is because you think, well, the company is offering me $1,000 of credit. I can use $1,000 of credit, but it doesn't really quite work that way. So you need to think about how much of your credit you're using. But the single most important thing you can do is to pay more than your minimum payments and make sure you're never late on any credit card payments. Even being late once can cause your credit score to go down.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's great. Now, insurance. Let's get to just a bit of it. Does insurance tie in with financial well-being? Because I know we insure a lot of things. We insure health, we insure our cars. This also very important or instrumental in how I handle my finances. Of course, a situation might happen where I lose my car, or I lose my house, or I'm in a bad health situation and I need to pay. So which means if I have to pay it out of my pocket, that might be a bit difficult. Does insurance come in then? And how would you say it works in this journey for financial well-being and stability?
Well, the way insurance works is it's your safety net, as you point out, Richard, in the event that something happens that would be a large cost out of pocket. That's the whole idea of insurance, is it's leverage against a potential risk. So when you buy insurance on your car, let's say your car is worth $20,000, $30,000, that's a lot of money out of pocket if something should happen to your car. So you may pay $700 a year in car insurance premiums, but you're paying it as leverage, so you don't have to make that big payment out of pocket in the event that something should happen. So that's how to think of insurance. Is it's like your safety net, it's your backstop. You can get insurance to insure your income. So in the event you're not able to work, you receive income from your insurance. You can receive insurance, as you mentioned, for health insurance. Because if you have an expensive medical procedure, you don't have to pay all that money out of pocket because you have the insurance. So that's why it's worth it to pay insurance premiums, even if it seems kind of high over the years, is because sooner or later you're going to have some kind of claim, which is when you get an insurance payment, and you'll be glad that you had the insurance because you won't have to come up with all that money out of pocket. At a time when things are really hard, because if you think about it, if you get disabled and you're no longer able to work, for 6 months or a year, that's going to be a really hard time to come out of pocket with money. So not only do you not have the income coming in, but then you maybe have some medical expenses that are tied in. And that's why insurance is really important, is because it comes in at the time where you need it the most. And that's why it's so helpful.
All right. Of course, we've mentioned a couple of things there. We've talked about saving, budgeting, insurance, and also credit score. Those are four very important pillars of financial well-being and financial stability. Are there any other tips that you will say, and which will be your number one tip towards this journey for financial well-being?
Well, I think the number one tip for people is to change the way that you think about money. I think everybody can be financially successful. And as I mentioned, we all have our own personal definition of financial success. My number one tip is really that today is the best day to get started. Today's the perfect day. Go ahead, don't have any judgment about where you are. It's all about the decisions that you make going forward. That's how you're going to have a successful life. And define your financial life for yourself. Don't go by what anybody else says. Do what you think will make you happy and meet your goals for you and your family.
All right. Do what will be the most relevant and, of course, the most impactful according to your situation. That is what Tony Steuer is telling us there on Zoom. On your slide, Tony, I've been taking a look at it, and I see here a Get Ready Toolkit, and also, I don't know whether it's also the one that has several different months with what you should do. I'm guessing that is also that Get Ready Toolkit. What is something that you can tell us about it, and how can people use this Get Ready Toolkit? How is it important, and how does it work?
So they're all free resources on my website. So the financial calendar is a way for people to review all areas of their financial life over the course of the year. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll receive a weekly action item. 1 month there's a theme of insurance, another month there's this theme of family communication. So, I try to help people organize everything and make sure that they're reviewing all things. And the worksheets in the toolkit help you organize different areas of your financial life, maybe do an insurance inventory. I have a cash flow worksheet. I like that term better than budgeting, where you can put your income and expenses in. So, I try to do all kinds of things like that, just in the interest of helping people out, because, you have to know your resources when you start out. That's why on a map, it always says you are here, because you have to know where you are in order to know where you want to go.
Right. You have to know where you are in order to know where you want to go. That's such a strong point there. That now leads me to, the question that we are now asking is, we've spoken about credit scores, saving, budgeting, and now the financial resources on your website. This is all to help someone get a well-balanced financial life. Of course, getting that balance in your life financially is also good in other aspects of your life. And how is that? How important is that? You will say, are there things that are specific that you will mention that are the reason why it's important to have financial well-being or financial balance?
Well, it's at least in the States, they've done a lot of studies, and one of the top stressors for workers, employees, is financial stress. It impacts all areas of your life. It impacts your health. It impacts your ability to work. If you're staying up late at night and you're worried because you're not able to pay your bills, you're not able to buy books for your children, things like that, that kind of stress is going to, interfere with your sleep, which interferes with your health. It's going to interfere with your work life. It may interfere, with your marriage, with your partner, if you're not on the same page financially. So, it's so important to consider that money is connected to so many different parts of our lives. Think about all the times where you go through the day and money impacts a decision. It may impact when you go shopping for groceries. It may impact, it does impact when you go get gas to fill up your car. So, money ties into every single thing that we do. So it's just important to really think about that and how it's going to impact your relationships and your health.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony. And, maybe to wrap it up, I know we've had quite a conversation and we can have much more. Hoping that in the future, in person or again on Zoom, we can continue this conversation on other aspects of financial well-being. What is now the way that people can access? I know you've been on several platforms. You do podcasts. You also do this website, and also you've mentioned that newsletter. Maybe just a wrap up of some of those resources people can access from you and the channels through which they can do that.
Well, the best way, if you're on LinkedIn, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I post quite a bit on LinkedIn. My website is another great way to find out, where my latest podcast is, to find out when I'm on TV in Kenya, for example, and to check out the free resources and newsletters.
All right. Thank you very much, Tony Steuer, for joining us from California at 3 a.m, while it's already work time here in Kenya. Very gracious of you, and we are really happy to have had this conversation.
Well, Richard, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.